Hey, what's up guys? Back again with another little repair video here. This one's going to be repairing the turn signal multifunction combination lever on a 2007 F150. My dad came to me and he said that he was having some problems getting his high beams to come on. He said that he had no high beams actually, and he figured that it was a blown fuse after we changed his battery not too long ago. So this video is going to be kind of about us processing through that and kind of diagnosing and fixing this high beam issue in the truck. So stay tuned. So the first guess about what would be causing the high beams not to work on this pickup truck is that there's just a blown fuse for the high beams. That, I mean, we changed the battery, maybe we touched something we didn't need to, you know, or cause a little ground wire or short or something to go awry. So the best first guess was to try and check out the fuses, so that's what we did. Down here, I'm actually down in the front passenger seat, and the fuse box is right over here for these F-150s. So we're gonna crack into that and take a look. So you'll actually come into here, come down to your floorboard and reach back here, and you'll see a little indicator for it says fuse box. And you can reach down here and just kind of tug on this. It should pop loose. This one's kind of got hung up. There you go. And it should just pivot off and pull off of there. And that's the first panel. And then you've got another panel here that you'll have to, there's a little, it says pull right here. If you pull from there, you can pop off the secondary cover with the diagram. And here's your fuses and relays back here. This is all down on the passenger side kick panel. And the fuse you're looking for high beams is this 20 amp right up here at the top between these two relays. So it'll be the third over if you're including the big one. This is what you're looking for. So you're gonna wanna check that out. In order to get that off, if you flip this cover over, there's actually a fuse puller right down in here that you can pull out, and you can use this to get them out. Now what I like to do for this one down here is to actually pull out this bigger relay, because it's kind of hard to get my fingers down in there. So you can just pull this bigger one out right here, just like that. Then you can slide this puller tool on there. You can actually pull that fuse out pretty easy once you get it locked on there. There, see? Now let's take a look at this. Pull it off the puller there, and this fuse actually doesn't look that bad at all. There's a little bit of corrosion down here on the teeth or the prongs, but what you're really looking for when you're looking at a burned out fuse is right up here. I don't know if my camera will focus, right on that little curved piece of metal and behind the plastic. Usually it'll get dark right there in the middle, so that's what you're looking for. This fuse looks fine. So that's probably actually not our issue. So I can actually tell you from some testing we did earlier on a couple fuses that wasn't a problem fuse for us. I swapped out a couple of different 20 amp fuses that I had laying around spare, some good ones that have been used before. That didn't fix the issue, so it wasn't a blown fuse. We actually went ahead and took a look at one of the relays for the high beams also. It's down below. It's relay 03 for those guys that have a 04 to 08 Ford. So take a look at that. Those usually don't fail, but sometimes when they do, you know, your high beams won't actually come on. So that's worth looking into as well. What you can actually do is, what I did was I swapped the accessory delay relay with the high beam relay. They're right there next to each other down in the fuse box. You can swap those two because all of those multi-purpose relays down there are all the same size. You can just swap them, and then if nothing else fails and your high beams still don't come on, that means that relay is probably good as well. So if you're looking down here, this big relay right here is actually your high beam relay. This one's your starter, so you don't want to mess with that. I think that's the starter. And this one right here is accessory delay. So what I did was I flipped these two. They're the same size, it's the same relay. So I just flipped them, and as long as you don't get any, you know, if this one is bad and you flip them, then you're going to start having a problem with the accessory delay. And we turned this back on after we switched these two, and still the high beams were out and there was no issue with the accessory. So that led me to believe that this one right here, which is actually was originally here in the high beam slot, it's fine. They're both fine. So if that's not your problem, then it's time to look up at the lever. So now we're right up here by the multifunction lever where you turn on your high beams. And what can actually happen is these are just cheap plastic parts down inside their housing here, and they can actually pull out this way too far. And so when that happens, there's a little plastic nib inside there that actually activates and moves the connectors for the high beam. And if this gets pulled too far out this way, that actually won't activate those connectors, which will cause you problems. So what we actually ended up finding was that this was indeed the part that was bad. And if I push in, you see how it goes in a little bit like that? If you push in, it actually reactivates that actuator in there, that plastic arm, and you can turn on your high beams, which it should do it right here. We should be able to see it in the dash. Hold on. So I've pushed in, see me pushing in there, and then see the high beams trip on. Whereas out here, I don't have it pushed in, nothing. We're not getting any, you don't hear the relay click down on the kick panel, and there's nothing happening. But as soon as you push in, and it doesn't take much, you just have to push in just a little bit, it begins to actuate again and work. And what that, I'll see if I can show y'all what causes that when I pull this out, but that's what's going on. So I just want to show you guys this old housing, or this old lever that we pulled off, kind of what was wrong with it here. You know how it was moving, it's kind of hard to do with one hand, but how it was moving in and out, it was wiggling around. Actually, there's some parts over here that flew out of it, but it's maybe kind of hard to see in the sun. But if you look right here, you can see that little node right there at the tip of my thumb. There's one on both sides. And it's supposed to be this little plastic kind of a stop that when you slide it in there, it holds it in place. Well, what happens over time is these little stops right here wear out, and this thing can move in and out. And when it does, this little arm right here doesn't slot into what it's supposed to in there, which this won't show, but that slides in there, and that when you move the lever, it activates the high beams that way. And so that's I just want to show you guys what fails on this that causes that problem with these switches. One thing you can do is you can actually drill this out right here, and you can get a little tiny self-tapping screw, and you can put one on either side while it's inside this housing. What you have to do is kind of take this plastic apart, it just snaps apart, and you can actually rig it up that way with some self-tapping screws if you don't want to buy a whole one of these. There's a great video on YouTube, a guy did that. I'll link it down in the description if you guys want to follow that method. We just wanted to go ahead and opt for getting a whole new one as opposed to, you know, kind of rigging this one to just last a little longer. But what I actually started noticing when I came over here was that this was, I mean, this is really loose. It was pulled out the max distance it can go. And you can actually, this is how far it was when I came over here and checked it out. And you can actually push it quite a bit. You see how far it goes in like that? It's a little bit too much. That's not supposed to be moving in and out like that. So yeah, that's kind of what was wrong with this F-150 as far as its high beams go. Another thing to check, be sure that your light bulbs just aren't out. I mean, sometimes, see, the thing that was tipping it off for this truck was that the high beam indicator in the dashboard wasn't illuminating at all when we would pull the lever, which is a pretty good indicator that the switch wasn't even working to begin with. If your high beam indicator is coming on in your dashboard and you're not getting any high beam lights, it could be that just both of your bulbs are out. A lot of times what happens is people will have one bulb out and not realize it, and then when the second one finally goes, they think that they've lost both of them all at once. So it is worth checking to make sure that your light bulbs are indeed good. But our problem here today was that this multifunction lever was just, it's come out of its socket, if you will. It's come too far out of the housing, and it's not activating the connecting arm that makes those copper connections within the control unit itself. So it's not sending the signal to turn the high beams on because it's not making the circuit. So what we're gonna have to do is actually tear the steering wheel off. We're gonna take the steering wheel off and disassemble it, and we're gonna go ahead and replace this entire arm. I'll see if I can, there's ways you can do this without buying a whole new part that I saw online. I'll link that guy's video down in the description below. But also, if you just want to be safe, you can just go ahead and get a replacement part and, you know, make this a breeze. But I'll probably make a separate video, I don't know, we'll see, of the install and replacement procedure. This is just kind of the vlog diagnosing kind of side video thing. I don't know, we'll see how I feel. But if it is another video, check out the description. It'll have a link for it down there, and that'll be the install video. So thanks for watching. I hope this video helped you guys out there if you're trying to diagnose high beam issues on your 2004 to 2008 Ford F-150. Thanks for watching, guys.